It was a quiet Saturday morning in Oak Ridge Estates, a suburban neighborhood where manicured lawns and carefully painted fences hid the tensions that often simmered beneath the surface. For most, it was just another weekend. Coffee brewing, kids riding bikes, sprinklers hissing softly on trimmed grass. But for Maya Johnson, the calm was about to shatter in a way that would remind everyone that appearances in this neighborhood were deceiving. Maya had lived in Oak Ridge for nearly 6 years with her husband, Marcus, and their 10-year-old daughter, Layla. They were proud of their home. They worked hard for it. Marcus, a decorated police officer with over 15 years on the force, had made sure their family built a life grounded in discipline and respect. Maya, a middle school science teacher, spent her weekends tending to her flower garden, greeting neighbors, and volunteering at the local library. They believed that if they kept to themselves, stayed kind, and followed the rules, they would be accepted. But that morning, acceptance was not what came knocking at their door. It started with a notice from the Homeowners Association, a complaint that Maya had left her trash bin out too long after collection day. She had rolled her eyes, moved it back into the garage, and thought that was the end of it. But a few days later, another notice arrived. Then another. This time about the color of their shutters. The HOA claimed they didn't match the approved palette. Maya had laughed bitterly, knowing 3 other houses on her street had the same shade of deep navy blue. Still, she decided to let it go. "Pick your battles," Marcus often said. But on that morning, when Maya was folding laundry and humming along to an old Marvin Gaye record, a loud, aggressive knock echoed through the house. Layla froze in the living room, eyes wide. Maya's stomach tightened. She peeked through the blinds, and her heart dropped. 2 police officers stood on her porch. Their stance wasn't casual. It was rigid, tense, as if they were prepared for confrontation. For a moment, Maya couldn't breathe. She had seen this story play out on the news too many times. The knock, the suspicion, the misunderstanding that spiraled into tragedy. She took a shaky breath and opened the door halfway. "Can I help you, officers?" she asked, keeping her voice calm even though her pulse was racing. The taller officer, his hand resting on his belt, spoke first. "Ma'am, we received a call from your HOA. They reported a disturbance at this address." Maya blinked in disbelief. "A disturbance? There's no disturbance here." The second officer narrowed his eyes slightly, glancing past her into the house. "We just need to make sure everything's all right." "Can we come in?" "No," Maya said firmly, stepping slightly forward. "There's a child inside, and I don't feel comfortable letting strangers in without cause." Her tone was polite, but her heart pounded like a drum. The officers exchanged a look, a silent conversation that reeked of suspicion. "Ma'am," the first one repeated, "if you don't cooperate, we'll have to escalate this." That word, escalate, hung heavy in the air. Maya's hands trembled slightly, but she kept them visible. "Officers, I'm not refusing. I'm simply asking, what exactly are you looking for?" "Who called you?" The taller one sighed impatiently. "Your HOA president reported yelling and loud noises. She said she feared someone was in danger." Maya let out a humorless laugh. "Yelling. The only thing playing here is Marvin Gaye." Still, she could see it in their eyes. They didn't believe her. Or worse, they didn't care. Just then, footsteps echoed down the hallway. Marcus had been upstairs getting ready for his evening shift. He was still adjusting his uniform shirt, his badge catching the morning light as he stepped into the living room. "Honey, what's going on?" he asked, his voice calm, controlled. The officer's eyes widened instantly. Their posture shifted, the confidence draining from their faces as if someone had flipped a switch. "Marcus Johnson," he said, walking forward, the gold badge on his chest gleaming. "Sergeant, Metro Police." The silence that followed was deafening. The same officers who moments ago stood ready to escalate were now frozen, blinking rapidly as they tried to process what they were seeing. One of them even stuttered, "Oh, Officer Johnson?" "Sir, we didn't realize—" Marcus stopped in front of them, his gaze firm. "Didn't realize what?" His voice was low, measured, but it carried authority. "Didn't realize a black family could live in this neighborhood without causing suspicion." Neither of the officers spoke. Their earlier confidence had dissolved into embarrassment. Layla peeked out from behind the couch, eyes wide, whispering, "Daddy?" Maya quickly gestured for her to stay back. Marcus continued, "I've worked this city for 15 years. I've seen good officers make honest mistakes, and I've seen bad ones hide behind excuses. So I'll ask again, what brought you to my door?" The taller officer swallowed hard. "We got a call, sir, from your HOA. Said there was yelling. We just wanted to make sure everyone was okay." Marcus exhaled sharply. "Next time, maybe ask before assuming the worst." The two officers nodded awkwardly, their faces flushed with guilt. "Of course, sir. We'll make a note of that." Maya crossed her arms, anger simmering beneath her calm exterior. "You should also make a note to tell your dispatcher that false reports waste police time and terrify families." The officers mumbled apologies and retreated quickly to their patrol car. As they drove off, Maya leaned against the door, her body trembling from the adrenaline. Layla ran to her, hugging her waist tightly. Marcus placed a steady hand on her shoulder. "It's over," he whispered, but Maya knew it wasn't over, because the real confrontation was yet to come. The one with the people who had called them in the first place, the HOA board that had turned neighborly oversight into targeted harassment. And for the first time, Marcus wasn't going to tell her to pick her battles. This was one battle they were both ready to fight. The next Monday, Maya walked into the Oak Ridge Community Hall with her head held high. Her heart still carried the echo of that morning. The fear in her daughter's eyes, the shame in the officers' stammering voices, the burning question of why us? But she wasn't there to demand an apology. She was there to demand accountability. The HOA board sat in their usual row, a mix of smug politeness and defensive smiles. At the center sat Linda Wallace, the HOA president who had made the call. She was in her late 50s with a sharp haircut and an even sharper tone. "Mrs. Johnson," she said, glancing over her glasses, "we understand there was some misunderstanding this weekend." "Misunderstanding?" Maya repeated, her voice calm but laced with steel. "You sent police officers to my house because I was listening to music while folding laundry." Linda chuckled nervously. "We just received reports of shouting. We had to take precautions for everyone's safety." Maya took a deep breath. "You mean my safety? My family's safety? The same family that's been getting complaint after complaint from this board for things everyone else here does." A few board members shifted uncomfortably. Linda cleared her throat. "Well, our rules are applied equally." Marcus, sitting beside Maya in full uniform, leaned forward. "Equally?" His voice cut through the room like a blade. "Then how come my family has received 5 warnings in 2 months while the neighbors across the street have had their garbage bins out all week without a single notice?" Silence. "Let me make this clear," Marcus continued. "When you call the police on a black household because you assume trouble, you're not enforcing rules. You're weaponizing them. You're endangering lives." Linda opened her mouth to speak, but faltered. Marcus's tone wasn't angry. It was heavy with quiet authority, the kind that carried the weight of years spent diffusing volatile situations. "I wear this uniform every day," he said. "I protect people who don't even see me as human sometimes. But when I come home, I expect one thing: peace. And what you did took that away from my family." Maya placed her hand on his arm gently, grounding him. The room was silent except for the hum of the air conditioner. Finally, an elderly board member cleared his throat. "Sergeant Johnson, Mrs. Johnson, on behalf of the board, I'd like to apologize. We didn't realize how it must have felt. The call was inappropriate." Linda frowned slightly, as if the apology stung her pride, but the rest of the room seemed to soften. Maya nodded. "Apologies are a start," she said. "But I want this documented. I want safeguards in place so no other family has to go through what we did. No more anonymous complaints used as weapons." Over the next few weeks, Maya and Marcus worked tirelessly with the HOA and local officials to establish a new neighborhood protocol. Any report involving residents had to be verified before police were called. Complaints could no longer be filed anonymously, and a diversity awareness session was made mandatory for the HOA board. It wasn't about vengeance. It was about progress. Months later, the Johnsons were once again enjoying quiet mornings. The tension had faded, but the lesson remained. Layla would sometimes ask, "Mommy, why did they call the police on us?" and Maya would kneel beside her, brushing her daughter's curls gently. "Because some people see difference and get afraid," she would say softly. "But what matters is that we showed them who we really are." One evening, as the sun dipped below the rooftops, Marcus stood on their porch, sipping his coffee. The same porch where 2 officers once stood, judging him by the color of his skin before recognizing the badge on his chest. He looked out at the neighborhood. Some neighbors waved now, others still looked away, but he didn't care. He had nothing to prove. Inside, Maya turned on the same Marvin Gaye record that had been playing that morning. The melody filled the air again, but this time, it wasn't a sound of tension. It was one of victory, of peace reclaimed. Because sometimes, the bravest act of resistance isn't loud confrontation. It's standing tall in your truth, demanding respect without raising your voice, and refusing to be defined by someone else's fear. And for the Johnson family, that was enough.